In one of our recent videos, we took the time to project what a Russian roster might look like if the country was to partake in the 2026 Winter Olympics. Admittedly, our list was fairly NHL-centric, though we did take the time to acknowledge the KHL and a few of its players who may be suited to make the team, but this video prompted a heap of comments demonstrating varying opinions on the caliber of competition in the KHL. Some belittling the Russian league, others saying the league deserves more credit, and everything in between. So, in this video, we are going to analyze and investigate the current quality of competition in the KHL. In doing this, we are going to analyze the performances of several players who have split their careers between North America and Russia. We will also break down key differences between the KHL and NHL, highlighting how they tie to underlying statistics. Lastly, we will discuss the evolving nature of the KHL's stature and reputation without getting too political. Let's get started. With roughly 2/3 of the KHL's regular season complete, there are currently 14 players with NHL or AHL experience who sit within the league's top 25 point scorers. Of these players, 39-year-old Alexander Radulov is a unique example for the purposes of this video because he's bounced back and forth between North America and Russia multiple times in his career. As you'd likely expect, every single time he's made a switch, his production has shifted accordingly, and though he has been notably more productive in the KHL, his NHL stints have nonetheless been impressive. Radulov's longest consecutive stint in North America came from 2016 to 2022, during which he saw his most productive period in the league. This included a 72-point season with the Dallas Stars in 2018-19 when he averaged more than a point per game for the only time in his NHL career. His most productive KHL stint, meanwhile, came from 2008 to 2016 when he scored 492 points in 391 games. In the midst of this stretch, Radulov actually returned to the NHL briefly for the Nashville Predators playoff run in 2012. At the peak of his productivity in Russia, Radulov came to North America for the Predators' final 9 games of the regular season, scoring 7 points. In 8 playoff games, he contributed at a similar rate, scoring 6 points before the Preds were eliminated in round 2. This isolated period of play is incredibly unique. In March, Radulov and Salavat Yuleev UFA were eliminated from the KHL playoffs in round 1. Just a few weeks later, Radulov jumped back aboard with the Predators, seamlessly fitting in and producing both in the regular season and playoffs. So what's worth highlighting here? What can we take or learn from this? For one, Alexander Radulov was arguably the best player in the KHL at that time. He led the league in scoring that year and was named the KHL's MVP for a 3rd consecutive season. Because of his tenacity, playmaking ability, and enormous skill, he was able to transition to the NHL seamlessly, and that's something you do not often see. Sergei Plotnikov, Vadim Shipachev, Evgeny Medvedev, Nikita Gusev, Mikhail Grigorenko, the list goes on. There are countless examples of KHL players who find opportunity in the NHL only to fizzle out and rejoin the KHL. Taking a step back, this isn't always a matter of a player's ability. I, for one, cannot imagine the challenges a Russian would face in coming to North America to pursue a new life. The language barrier, cultural differences, differing professional expectations, and so much more. Radulov himself obviously confronted these types of issues on several occasions, and he wasn't always a victim, but because he was a pure elite talent, he was able to find success regardless. Changing gears, we are going to highlight a few currently active KHL players who are having success after previously playing in North America. Sam Anas, Andrew Peturalski, Reed Boucher, Jordan Wheel, Dylan Sakura, and Nick Merkley all sit as top 30 offensive producers in the KHL this season. Some of these players were of the quadruple A status in North America, performing admirably in the AHL but never quite getting a shot in the NHL. Others had a cup of coffee in the show playing as depth forwards. All of these players are in their late 20s or early 30s, previously put up big numbers in the AHL, and curiously stand between the heights of 5'8" and 5'11". This leads us to our next portion of the video, where we will analyze some key differences between the North American and Russian games, but keep these previously mentioned players in mind because we'll be circling back to them later. KHL hockey is played on Olympic-size ice surfaces, placing emphasis on slower, possession-based play. This reality lays the foundation for a more tactically structured game with a simultaneous opportunity for increased creativity on the ice. Tying into this, hitting is nowhere near as prominent in KHL hockey as compared to the North American game. This isn't to say that all KHL players are softer or less physical, but because of the ice surface's size, there are naturally fewer opportunities for physical engagements. This can be seen in measuring the amount of hits per game in both leagues, as the KHL averaged 27.71 hits per game in its 24-25 season, while the NHL averaged 42.86 hits per game in the same year. Summarizing these points together and making some deductions. KHL ice surfaces are bigger, resulting in a less physical game. To complement this reality, average heights and weights are also lower in the KHL. Applying this knowledge to the realities of our previously mentioned quadruple A/depth NHL players who are having success in Russia, there is something to be said about more space, less physicality, and smaller player sizes. Is this enabling smaller, fringe-level North American players to succeed in Russia? I don't know. I'm not attached to this argument, and I'm by no means saying it is absolute or bona fide. It's merely an observation. Circling back to Alexander Radulov, who wasn't just a speedy, skilled player, but a ruthless and physical force. He might not have been a checking forward by any means, but his reputation and penalty minutes certainly are suggestive of a player who's comfortable in a more physical game. I think it's likely that these attributes played a role in his results in the NHL. There are larger import players who we have failed to mention here, notably Josh Levo and Alex Limoges, who are 6'1" and 6'2" respectively, but we also didn't mention Daniel Sprong, Stefan DaCosta, Mitchell Miller, Riley Sawchuk, Derek Barak, Ty Smith, Jordan Gross, and Mike Vecchione, who are all under 6 feet tall, fitting the mold of this analysis. This logic can also be stretched further in analyzing defending at the KHL level. Naturally, with more space, it is more difficult to defend, hit, and maintain positioning, leading to further offensive opportunities. In the 24-25 season, there was an average of 61 shots per game in the KHL, while the NHL saw a lower figure at 54.79 shots per game. So what about goaltending then? As of mid-January, there are 16 KHL goaltenders with a save percentage of .920 or better. In the NHL, there's only one, and it's backup tender Devin Cooley. Could this be attributed to more passive defensive tactics, which allows for more shots on goal, and specifically more low-danger shots on goal, hence resulting in higher goalie save percentages? Again, I don't know. The track we're on here is a doom spiral of sorts that would lead to statistical analysis ad nauseum. We may already be at that point. If you're still watching, thanks for sticking around, but let's change gears once again. Closing off our video, we are going to discuss how the KHL has evolved over the last decade or so. In 2016, the KHL was home to 29 different teams. As of 2026, the league has shrunk in size, now housing just 22 clubs, the lowest team count in KHL history. The Russian economy is in the tank, geopolitical tensions are high, and as a result, the KHL is currently made up of roughly 73.4% Russian players. In 2021, that number was 66%. To coincide, the amount of Russian players in the NHL has almost doubled in the last 15 years. It would seem that more and more of Russia's top players are finding a home in the NHL. Is this a testament to the KHL's role as a development league? Could it be attributed to a generational surge in Russian talent? Or is it simply because more players are keen to leave the KHL? Again, as you probably could have guessed, I don't know. Dialing back to the influence in creating this video, talking what Russia's hypothetical Olympic roster composition should look like, I think a lot of our findings here point to a Russian national team that should be heavily NHL-centric. I also think these findings cast doubt on whether or not the KHL should be labeled as the second best hockey league in the world, at least in 2026. For Happening Hockey, I'm Tate Lakecraft.